Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is 2:00, so we will make a start. I know some of you have got other appointments to attend to. First of all, may we have apologies for absence?
We have apologies from councillors Ashwood, Bond, Giles and Goodwin, and I haven't heard from councillor Harper, she's not here.
I'm not certain if she sent me an email. She may have done. I'll check that. I think she might be at another meeting. Let me check that and come back to you. We'll go on to the next item, the minutes of the Fire Authority meeting held on the 20th of June and the 30th of July. They've been circulated with your papers. You all read them. Are you happy for me to sign the record? Yes. I'll do that after the meeting. If we can now move on to Chairman's announcements. I'd first of all to remind you that the Chief Officer is attending a passing out parade for our newest recruits today. And as none of the items on the agenda were particular urgency or complicated in any way, I said it was okay for him to attend that parade. Grenville Tower Inquiry, Phase 1 report. While we may have our own view on how the inquiry has been handled to date, I can confirm we have set up a group to consider the recommendations made in the report and will, if found necessary, make changes to policies and procedures. I can also confirm that in the week after the fire, we visited all the high-rise premises in the county and ratified our risk information. We have also updated our fire survival guidance so that it remains relevant and targeted to individual premises. I'll now refer to a death of a colleague from West Wales Fire and Rescue Service, and to add a sense of balance and to further emphasise the need for a suitable and fit for purpose training facility for this county. You may be aware that firefighter Josh Gardner from West Wales sadly passed away on the 17th of September during a training exercise. His funeral took place on the 1st of October, and Cambridgeshire Fire and Rescue Service sent representatives to pay their respects on behalf of the wider organisation and the Fire Authority itself. This tragic event reminds us of the risks taken by firefighters on a daily basis, and our thoughts and prayers have been sent to his family during this very difficult time. This is another example of why I take very personally any unwarranted criticism directed at operational staff across the country, be they serving rural or urban communities. Additional community safety role, which we're going down the road with the police. A collaborative road safety role with the police will focus on delivering road safety initiatives whilst also supporting water safety, children and young people safety initiatives. Whilst we will seek to fund the role for the longer term, there will be a review of effectiveness and value after 6 months. And while on the theme of collaboration, we have, after many years and a recent tendering process, secured procurement of a state-of-the-art mobilising radio system that not only improves the ability to modernise and mobilise fire appliances, but also considers future advances in technology. A successful supply with Sistel, a French company who have a proven track record in this field, and already successfully supplied a number of fire authorities. This was completed with the support and involvement of Suffolk and is expected to be completed early next year. In September, we had a visit from a delegation from the Shanghai Municipal Civil Defence Office. The service hosted a delegation of 6 officials from the Shanghai Municipal Civil Defence Office who are currently touring the UK. They were keen to visit and learn from the Fire and Rescue Service that is performing to a high standard, and that was their words, not us selling ourselves. and they spent time at Huntingdon Fire Station observing scenarios and equipment used in our daily routines. And finally, I have no doubt you probably had problems with parking today, as did I myself. The car park is not being used in the manner that it should be. We recognise that. Very shortly, hopefully subject to planning permission because of the trees, car park barrier will be erected. Your normal swipe card will get you in and out. At the moment, there is free access to people who are not part from the fire service, and it is causing us problems. And that is my chairman's announcements.
Chairman.
Yes, of course.
Thank you for those. Could I just return to the issue of the Grenfell Phase 1
Please do.
report?
Yeah.
Whilst I think we all accept that nothing's perfect, there are always lessons to be learned, we can always do a better job. I would like to take the opportunity to express our confidence in our service and the officers who run it, and on our confidence in the frontline officers who have to deal with these extraordinarily difficult situations day in and day out. And I think it's a useful reminder to them that they do have our entire confidence, and I hope that you would support that. Perhaps we could put an internal message around just saying something along those lines.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you very much for those kind and necessary words. I will ensure that a message is sent to all staff. Probably like myself, I was extremely surprised and disappointed at the level of criticism aimed at frontline firefighters. It was unnecessary and, in my view, unwarranted, but we'll move on from that and look forward to phase 2 of the report. We'll actually deal with the key issues about building control, and that's where the problem lies. But thank you for that. That's very helpful. Declarations of interest. None at this stage, as usual. If any occurred as we move on, please let us know. Fire Authority Collaboration Overview and Update Report on page 17. Matthew.
Thank you, Chairman. So just for information from the Fire Authority members today, just to provide you with the most up-to-date where we are with our numerous collaborations. Part of the focus for this report is not only just to share all of those collaborations with you, and there are a lot of them, you'll see, but also to give you the reassurance that we're keeping them under review as well, because part of this process really in this register is to make sure that we're still continuing to get value out of the numerous collaborations that we have in place. We picked in 5.3, there's just some highlights of some of those collaborations that we have ongoing, particularly ones around the blood transfusion service. We've got a number of sites now that are used for that service, which we see as adding real sort of wider community value. We've got obviously the training collaboration with Northamptonshire now, because obviously our hot fire site at Marshalls is no longer viable, and the other ones that you're aware of around Suffolk. Really, the focus here is actually, it's a live document. We look to obviously update it as often as we need to, and really just for your information. And if you've got any questions on any of those collaborations, be it the ones that are already here or any future collaborations that we have in place, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. It's been suggested to me that we might consider looking at offering facilities to the mobile X-ray and also mammogram unit that travels around the county.
Yep.
It's quite a big unit.
Mm-hmm.
I could see it fitting in quite well.
Yeah,
If it's something that can be followed through.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I'll take that forward.
It's quite impressive, the list, when you look through it. It really is. And they're very active partnerships in most of these. And we've just added the new one on today with the police as well, of course.
Yeah, and I mean there's one at the bottom, obviously, at the bottom of the list there, which is around
Yeah.
the Monkswood training facility that is ongoing, and hopefully that will become a live collaboration in time.
Are there any questions for Matthew at this stage?
Can I ask about two?
Yes,
Thanks. The first is the Red Cross at number 33, which says, come back to Wayne in September once Wayne has taken this on and reviewed the collaboration. What's Wayne's view?
Wayne's well, yeah, I was going to say that. I will find out what Wayne's
All right,
view
well,
is.
no, it's fine. I just,
I will find out what Wayne's view is on that and come back to you.
And there was also one which I've lost now. Oh no, here we go. Number 42, which is training and use of RAF and USAF resources, which doesn't have anything against it, other than a memorandum of understanding. Its number.
Yeah, so we can have more details of that, but what we have with the USAF at Alconbury is there's some specialist equipment that actually is extremely useful for us to use. John will be able to elaborate, I'm sure. But in terms of things like a major water carrier, they actually have that resource, and if we need it, we can actually call upon it, and that's what the memorandum of understanding is about.
Great. Okay, so it's not in there, but it's not detailed for
No,
security
it
reasons.
should be.
Oh, okay, it should be. All right.
Yeah.
Lovely. Anyway, jolly good. But please don't have that one.
I think Monkswood listed as a separate one.
Now, Monkswood's right at the bottom, because actually, effectively what it is it's a collaboration we're working towards at the moment, hopefully. But that's why it's there. So it's right at the very end one, Monkswood facilities on 49.
Well, I think it's worth saying something at this point regarding Monkswood. You will all have seen the recent correspondence between the Police and Crime Commission and myself. And it's evident, in my view, that there is a clear effort to move the goalposts from what was previously agreed. Today I've sent a reply to the latest missive received, and it'll be copied to you later on. You, all being active members of the upper tier authority, will only be too aware of how much time and resource letter ping pong consumes. Therefore, I'm very hopeful that we can quickly agree either on using Monkswood as previously agreed, or us moving on to Plan B and implementing the much needed facility we promised our staff and the public a number of years ago. And the reason I highlight that yet again, it's something we must get on with, is having a fit for purpose training facility is absolutely paramount, and particularly when some of the outcomes of Grenfell are being discussed. We've got to be able to demonstrate that we're fit for purpose training facilities. And I would suggest that if we had to do it today, we may well struggle, because our current training facilities are in a constant state of breakdown. I'll leave that on the table for your thoughts, probably at a later stage if you wish. Are there any other questions to Matthew on this item? No? Okay, let's move on to the next one. Equality and Inclusion Compliance Report, pages 29 to 64. Who's on this one? No?
Yeah, I'm quite happy to lead them. I can lead, mainly because I read through it. So, members of the Quality and Resources Committee, this was presented to you for endorsement last month. There were a number of suggested changes that have been made, and I'm sure Councillor Rogers has hopefully checked those that have been done. But really, just to give you, if you like, a whistle-stop tour of just some of the headlines. So you'll see that it's grouped into sections, and section 1 on page 34 of the pack is around our quality objectives, and it basically gives you a rundown. And I'm not proposing on going through every single line of the report, but it talks around how we've improved our attendance at business of all business communities in our business seminars, and there's been obviously a lot of emphasis, certainly from fire safety, to try and reach out to the business community and bring them in, obviously, to enhance our fire safety. And obviously, as part of that, clearly we've looked to try and include those minority ethnic backgrounds. In terms of safe and well visits, you'll see there in terms of how we've sought to understand who is the subject of these visits, and again there it just gives you the breakdown in the sort of last paragraph of that section. around how many come from the, particularly from the BAME communities. And again, I won't teach you all the numbers. In terms of self-engagement, you'll see there, in terms of dementia awareness, all of those campaigns that we're trying to run and include. There's a whole wealth of effort and resource being put into these areas to try and engage, not just internally but externally as well. And I think you'll see in terms of workforce diversity, you'll see there over the page on page 36, things like Ely Pride, so our crews are going out and engaging with these such events now to try and promote interest in the fire and rescue service, both in the on-call service, obviously the support service, but also the whole time, which is where we're trying to be more, as much as we can, be more representative of the communities we serve. Just other points on page 37, so across the page, the take action to understand and reduce the gender pay gap. So we actually had a specific piece of work commissioned, and members will hopefully recall I did say I will be bringing, there were some issues with regard to our salary scales in terms of just the breadth of them. So if you're perhaps a male who's been with the organisation a long period of time, and you've been through an incremental process, until you may earn more than no, we don't have a significant gap, but there is the potential that we could have that gap because of the way our current structures were built. We're looking to review those, and I did say I'll bring you a paper back to Policy Resources in December, and we're still on schedule to do that. So actually there is a proposal to reduce that gap, or the potential for that gap happening again in the future, and I will be bringing that proposal back to you. Other than that, I think in terms of numbers on community safety, I wasn't going to go through the numbers because we went through it in quite a lot of detail at Policy Resources, but happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Yes, Aston.
Thank you. Just one, which is around the safe and well visits and the BAME percentages, which are low. Can you perhaps explain whether this is to do with language difficulty, and whether it is to do with cultural issues about people going into a household where the male of the household is at work, for example?
So in terms of how I mean, John will probably be able to add, but in terms of how we conduct the safe and well visits, they're all targeted. 95% of our safe and well visits are targeted in terms of those vulnerable groups that we need to or hope to work with to reduce the risk. In terms of that's where our focus is. What I don't know, and I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, go on, you can add to it.
Yeah, but we have an issue with our referral processes. So what the problem is a lot of people from those backgrounds are not engaging with the social services and not registered with the relative doctors' surgeries or whatever. So they're not in that referral pathway. So it's something we're looking at how we can get around that, but that is what's causing the barrier. The referral pathways we get that referral from, these people are not in those pathways.
Interesting. So it's not language, it's not cultural.
No.
It's just
Yeah, I suppose it might be a cultural thing around
Yeah.
the access to services, and then that then progressing to us. But it's a wider problem, I suggest.
Thank you.
So, Chair,
Yes, please.
So on that, how do we know what's being done to get round to those type of people? I think who would be leading? Is it ourselves? Would it be social services? Would it be local authorities?
We get the data from social services, but we're also trying to engage with local community groups. We have people work out in the communities to try and get those referrals coming straight to us, so that doesn't become a barrier. But progress is slow.
Is this an issue that's been flagged up at internal reference to so-called? We've got one on equality.
Yes, it would have been in terms of approach of trying to break down those barriers, and we've seen absolutely, and it's something that we'll continue to try and resolve over the next year or on.
Any other yes, Jocelyn?
First of all, thank you for the work that has been done. It's a very solid report. I've just got one point I'd like to raise. At paragraph 7 on page 37, when one runs through the acronym RESPECT and what is set next to it, it appears that the onus is actually being put on the person who is enduring or experiencing the unwelcome behaviour. And I would suggest that it might be better this way. R, refrain from engaging in conduct of this sort. E, expect others to refrain from engaging in conduct of this sort. S, stand up to those who do engage in conduct of this sort. T, persevere in standing up to those who engage in it. E, express support for the policy of not engaging in this conduct. C, control your own conduct. T, take time to undergo regular training in relation to not engaging in this conduct. It's just that I do think, that we need to put the onus on the people who are doing it, because if you put the onus on those who are being done to, it's actually not fair, because they're expected to stand up when in fact the problem is that they often can't. And so we really need to say, those who are engaging in this conduct, stop it.
And I do not disagree at all in terms of those individuals stopping it. What we're trying to create here, I suppose, is the environment where people feel safe in coming forward in the first place, so we can address those people and ensure. And those messages you give, absolutely, it's almost like a double-edged respect campaign. Absolutely, we want people to feel comfortable that if they don't feel that they can address those individuals, because sometimes this will happen outside. Can they go somewhere else to raise it? Do they have the confidence to go to that other place to raise it? That's what we're trying to promote initially through the Respect campaign. But absolutely, the next stage of it is us dealing with those people that stop it. And I think it's almost a double-pronged approach that we are seeking to achieve. One, this is how we expect people to behave, and we've got our one team behaviours. We have those that sit alongside the Respect campaign, and then the Respect campaign is effectively for people to have the confidence to come forward. So actually what we probably don't say here is the one team behaviours which sit alongside it, which are the types.
Because if people weren't doing it, nobody
Absolutely.
would have to come forward,
Absolutely.
you see. And I guess that the final point I'd make is that we actually don't need to have any complaints to know it's happening, because this sort of conduct is endemic in every workplace.
Absolutely.
And therefore we need to take the initiative, which is to actually stop the conduct before anybody has to complain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what we're trying to, and you're right, it's a challenge for every organisation, but certainly through the one team behaviours model that we have, we're trying to promote and ensure that all of our managers are actually dealing with those situations as they see them and being proactive. Because actually, you're right, I'm not saying we're ever going to get rid of it all, but certainly we want to get to a point where absolutely it's a minimum level.
When we next review the policy, can Councillor Scott's comments been taken into account
Absolutely.
and see if there's a way of incorporating
And I
if
think,
appropriate?
yeah, and I think you're right, Kevin, but in terms of if we could map them against our one team behaviours, because actually that's already out there to make sure that they do incorporate those points.
I'll email them.
Thank you. That would be very helpful, because I was trying, but I couldn't quite get them down. Thank you.
Thank you, that's very helpful. Any other comments on this item before we move on? Okay, if we can move on to the next item, which is the integrated risk management.
Sorry, just before you move on,
Yeah.
Kevin, can I just say, and again, some of you, Alison
Alison
Scott,
Alison Scott, she's been here a long time.
she's been here a long time, and she's retired. She retired
I'm
last.
not sure when she was going, but she's had a lot of work.
She's
in this
retired. Yeah,
area.
she's retired last week, Councillor Smith, and she's been instrumental in getting us to the point we're at now with regard to our quality work. So I'd like to place on record my thanks to
I'm sure,
to Alison.
I'm sure members will endorse that.
Thank you.
Integrated risk management plan?
Thank you, Chairman. Purpose of the report is to discuss our draft integrated risk management plan for the year 2020 to 24. That is attached to my report, and I would ask you to approve the attached draft plan for consultation. Hopefully you have all had an opportunity to review the plan. I think it would be useful just for me to discuss the context in which it's written, so hopefully you better understand where we're trying to get to with this. I think it's interesting to note that despite an increase in population, our incident rates have fallen considerably over 10 years, although the numbers have marginally increased over the last 5 years. So what it appears, we seem to have reached a plateau where we've reduced the number, but it's starting to creep up now. Some of that is due to us taking on extra work through collaboration with other services, and some of it is driven by an increase in secondary fires. Also, the reduction is also due to us managing call demand and also proactive fire prevention work. And a main increase in fires, about 51% of the number of secondary fires. And what we are seeing is big spikes now in summer months. With our previous risk management plan, the spikes were less noticeable, but during the time that's been running, they're becoming more evident. And that is something we need to take into account. And I don't think that's going to change with the type of extreme weathers we're starting to encounter. So it's definitely something we need to take into account.
Chairman, before John moves on, can I just pick up on that point? Because I wonder if you are able to tell us what you think is causing these spikes. Because I was reflecting back when I was reading this, how in the past, in the summer months, we were rather busy, we get stubble burning and this sort of thing, which you don't have now. So, are you able to attribute?
It's very weather dependent, but we tend to get more and more hot summers.
So it is the hot summer argument, therefore
yeah, we're getting more and more regularly, which is causing more spikes.
Okay.
In terms of the fire rate per 100,000 population, that is reasonably static. We've had an increase of about 4%, but I'm sure everyone's aware that the county is growing massively, and so there is some tracking of that population in terms of fire growth. As special services said have increased, we're doing a lot more with the other emergency services. We're supporting, we're doing co-responding, we're assisting police and ambulance services and gaining access to incidents. In terms of comprehensive spending review, that's something we have to take into account. That is largely an unknown picture at the moment, so we have to make sure we're cognizant of that going forward with our plans. And the on-call is a massive focus for us in this plan. As we know, that is a major part of our response model. It is a particularly challenging one, not just for us, but across the country. So it's quite right that this plan going forward focuses heavily on the on-call service. And also the changing demographics across the county, that's something we absolutely have to take into account. The increasing population, also what we're seeing is a move of ageing population to more rural areas, and the younger people moving out of those areas and moving more into the cities. And that will have an impact in terms of vulnerable people in isolated communities, as well as from our on-call response time area. People that we can recruit in those areas are less than. So that all has an impact on our plans. So in terms of the actual plan itself, we break it down into our areas we focus on, which are our strategic aims, which are people, which includes the people that work for us and as well as the communities we serve, community safety excellence, operational excellence and base management. And that's the areas in which the plan is focused. Is there any questions?
Sebastian?
It's not a question really. I think it's a measure of quality of the reports that come to us that it's quite difficult to find anything to moan about. So I was pleased finally at the very end to find one very small thing, which is in one of the appendices on page 108, where there's reference to traveller population. And it remarks that Finland has one of the largest traveller populations in the country. I think it is the largest traveller population in the country, and the second largest is South Cambridgeshire, which is something that people always find quite surprising. But it does bear, I think, repetition. Anyway, that data is relatively recent, and I can't see it changing that much.
Thank you for that update. Nobody else? We'll go on to the Borough Authority Programme Management on page 111. Matthew.
Thank you. So, really, it's the appendix I'll talk to. So on page 113, if I just give members a very brief overview of some of the major projects that we've got ongoing at the moment. The first one is an IT-based project, but currently we have a particular licensing model with Microsoft, and they are no longer supporting that licensing model. So we've got to, as a result, move to their new model, which means that we've got to get rid of one of our major systems of support that we have at the moment, which is our document management system. And that's going to be a significant piece of work across the service. Everybody, bar none, will be impacted on it. So just to give you the heads up, it's a big piece of work, but we've got no little choice. We've got to get on with it. The replacement X and Mob, so the control system, the chairman's already given you an update. We hopefully will sign contracts this week. So on the basis that we sign contracts this week, we'll review for starting the implementation, or certainly getting ready to start the implementation just after Christmas. So that's been quite a long drawn out process, but we're getting to the right place now. Over the page, onto 115. Probably don't want to say too much about the asset management software. That project is pretty much moving to business as usual. We've implemented it for all of our major fleet and equipment. So we're finding now we can track all of our equipment, and we can also ensure that it's tested at the appropriate times. So the system enables us to ensure that it's all safety tested, in date, and we can track it around the county when things go missing or get passed from appliance to appliance when they turn up particular incidents. We can find out where they've gone. So that's been a good piece of work and a successful introduction. ESMCP. John's leading on this, but I've probably not an awful lot to say, is there?
No, not this time. Really, it's all going to hinge on the full business case being approved on what we've got on the other part next year.
So we're not doing an awful lot on that, but just keep your eye peeled. I will point this one out. So on the page 116 again, the VBI upgrade project, the P109. For those members, if you remember, we had a conversation some time back where we were having a number of issues with the performance of our IT infrastructure, and I did promise you that I said it would be resolved within, at the time it was about 6 weeks, and it was resolved within 6 weeks, and touch wood, it's been very, very, very successful. We've gone from a place where we had lots of people moaning around the service to nobody moaning around the service, around the IT, which is pretty much unheard of. So they should be congratulated, or the IT function should be congratulated on that.
Would you like me to promote, sir?
No. Thank you very much, Councillor Shevins.
Disappointed.
You've had an update on the on-call project this morning for those members that were in attendance, so you should know where we are with that. And other than that, I think they're probably the main ones I wanted to highlight, unless members have any questions on the others.
Yes.
Any questions? Yes, Sebastian.
Thank you. First of all, on page 115, what was periodicity?
Very sorry.
On issues, page 115, third line from the bottom,
One page.
awaiting periodicity.
I'm trying to find it.
You're in the orange, not the red box,
So it's
the
in
orange
the
one.
issues column.
Yes, I'm with you.
POC.
Awaiting periodicity. I have absolutely no idea.
Well, I didn't look it up because I thought this would be some cunning software word.
It might be a cunning software word, but I don't know it myself either.
Okay,
So I'm
good.
sure it is a cunning word, but I'll find out.
And the second thing is, for those of us who weren't able to make the briefing on the on-call this morning, will it be emailed to us?
Yes, I'll make sure that the slides are emailed.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll get the slides emailed out. Yeah.
Lovely, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other question? one is appointment of independent persons on page 131. The report is pretty much self-explanatory. It's basically to share the independent person used by Cambridgeshire. It seems quite expedient to do so. Very, very rarely, if ever, that we need to actually use the independent person, but we have got one appointed. Are there any questions? You're happy with that? It does make sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Next one, proposed dates for Borough Authority meeting, Month 37.
Agreed.
Is there anything you want to point out to us?
I want to accept policy and resources date in April 2021. We pointed out that sits in the Easter holidays, so I may revisit that. It's quite close to the election as well, so I might need to move it and just look at it.
Well, I've just not don't worry, that'll be.
The April meeting is often put
That's
quiet
right.
as well.
Yeah.
Second general election that is probably programmed after.
Is this just going to go on?
Simon,
I'm not going to talk, I'm pretty sad because I checked a lot of these dates. On the JCC committee on the 20th of September next year, you just check that date because in my calendar it's a weekend day. So if you can all check that.
That is pretty sad.
I can't,
It is pretty sad.
I can't remember the last time we ever met.
Yeah, same.
I know,
If it's time though, Simon.
It's just Sunday.
Okay, Dawn will look at that. Thanks for pointing it out to you. The next policy meeting in December is a little bit up in the air. It will definitely take place, but it coincides with full council meeting at Shard Hall in the morning. But there's not many other opportunities to actually have policy meeting around that area. So
This is
We're probably looking at moving it to the afternoon.
We have, yes. So I've
Yeah.
spoken to Miles more this afternoon, and we'll look. The suggestion is 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, but you've got to leave Shard Hall at 2.
Yeah, so 3 o'clock.
At
Yeah.
least.
yeah,
That's on the good
absolutely.
I'm very sorry to send my apologies already, but I won't be there.
Oh,
Right, well, it's 19th of December, not longer.
well, that's,
As is, I imagine, much of the rest of the world by then.
we will.
Not even notice.
No, I'm just trying to think. It's quite. If all things work out, hopefully that'll be the meeting where we'll make a decision about moving on to Plan B. If that is the case, then we'll make sure that you get the papers as soon as possible.
Okay.
And if you wish to make any written submissions, which I'm sure you might, then that will be taken into account.
Thank you, Chairman, that's very kind.
Anything else on dates? Right, we'll now move on. Appointment to committees. Dawn?
There's no changes, this is just there as a, in case any of the groups wanted to make any changes, but I haven't been notified of any, so it's as it is.
Nobody's asked me for any changes, so I think we'll pass over that one then. Right, item 12, Policy and Resources Committee, held on the 18th of July, and at the same time I'll take Scrutiny Committee, held on the 3rd of October. Both of these are for information, but if you wish to ask any questions, we will do our best to answer them. Are there any questions on either Policy and Resources or overview and scrutiny?
Noted, Chairman.
Chairman, not so much a question, but just a point on the, if you look at the very last page of our agenda, page 155, with the last overview and scrutiny committee, I think there's only 3 of us actually there, so some of the members weren't present. We are still looking for 2 councillors, there will be 2 councillors to serve on 2 of the member-led reviews. So those of you on overview and scrutiny who might like to volunteer, I'm looking at paragraph 73. Is it 73? No, sorry, over page 77. I'm leading on one and Linda Hartford is leading on the other. We're still looking for 2 other volunteers. I think that's the case there. I think we need to liaise with them.
And policy members are disbarred from doing
Yes,
this.
it has to come to
Yeah.
overview and screening, but there were only 3 of us in attendance on that meeting. So I think we've got a volunteer there. I may address that through you, Jim.
Okay, thank you. And if you need any more, let us know and we'll do a circular action.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. That being all the business for today. Thank you for your attendance. We look forward to seeing you in December.